Greetings, citizens! You're now trapped in a nerd cage with your hosts Mark and Jay. We hope you have a smashing good time.
Hello and welcome. That's right, you're trapped in NerdCage Live. This ain't just a reaction show, but a debate show and a live discussion on everything that makes people like you and I tick. So thank you for joining us tonight. Please hit that like button and subscribe. I'm your co-host, Jason G, coming to you live from Syracuse, New York, and always with me, my man, the Fiend from Louisville, Mark Withers. What's shaking, boss?
Hey, what's going on, man? Super excited as usual. And yes, we have another look back for you tonight. This one is going to be about 2010's The Town, directed by Ben Affleck. Now, this is one of my favorite movies of all time. In fact, I listed this on a list that I put on Facebook around this time last year as one of the top 10 movies of the 2010s. So before we even get started, I kind of wanted to get your take on it, Jay. What did you think of this movie?
Man, this movie didn't age a day. It's still intense. It's still thrilling. It's well written. It's well directed. It's like Point Break, but on steroids. Much better. I love this, the bank robbing heist. And I love, even though I'm a proud New York sports fan, this movie really captures Boston and everything else going on in Boston, and you can really appreciate that. This movie really takes the city of Boston in a whole new light, and it's just, wow. I mean, it was really great rewatching this film, and at the time, when the first time I seen it, I didn't realize who Jon Hamm was. I didn't realize who Jeremy Renner was. Right. And this is like before all the Marvel, like Avengers and everything else, and this is before Ben Affleck was Batman, and like, Let's shift gears to Ben Affleck real quick. Talk about a fascinating career. We all know he got famous from, all the Kevin Smith movies, and then he helped with Good Will Hunting. Then he had those big hits that they weren't great movies at all. For example, Pearl Harbor and Armageddon. Big hits, but bad movies. Right. And then the 2000s happened, and all these bad movies came. Jiggly, Daredevil, Jersey Girl, and everything else. And at that point, and of course, J-Lo came in, and at that point, we were all sick of Ben Affleck. And then, don't ask me how this happened, but I remember working at Target at the time, and my buddy Kilo says to me, he's like, "Yo, Jay, you have to watch this movie, The Town." I'm like, "What, the movie with Ben Affleck? Like, really?" He goes, No. This is a whole new Ben Affleck movie. You've got to watch it. I listened to him, and I'm glad I did, because this movie totally painted a whole new light on Ben Affleck. I've never seen him like that before. And I've had my utmost respect for Ben Affleck ever since.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I never really disliked Ben Affleck. I'd always been sort of like a transient fan of his, through the Kevin Smith movies and Good Will Hunting and stuff like that. I always kind of just saw him as, a decent actor. It's kind of there, but not really anything stellar. And it wasn't until this movie that I really started to take him seriously as both an actor and as a director. I mean, this movie
and a writer.
Right. And he did such a good job of telling that story, which, by the way, is based on a book called Prince of Thieves that had come out a few years before that, about a string of bank robberies that happened in the Charlestown, Massachusetts area in the late 90s, early 2000s. But I just thought it was a story that was brilliantly told, very well executed. I mean, and I thought that everyone in that cast was phenomenal. I mean, this was without question Jeremy Renner's breakout role. I mean, I'd never seen him in anything else before that. I mean, we think of him now as Hawkeye from the Avengers, but he really wasn't very well known at the time. And what a performance he gave, man. I mean, as Jem. I mean, he was fantastic in this movie. And can we take a second to talk about Blake Lively for a minute? I mean, a lot of people, myself included, tend to discount actors who kind of made their bones in the CW. She was on a show called Gossip Girl before all of this, and I really didn't care for that show very much. I really didn't take her very seriously as a result of that. But man, did she change my mind in this movie. I mean, she was absolutely fantastic. It really showed exactly, what a great actress she actually is. And, it did the same for a lot of other actors in this movie. I mean, I just thought that it was great all the way around, and it really ages well.
Yes.
Like I think I like this movie better now than the first time that I saw it. It's that kind of a movie. I mean, it's just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, we get 3 really, really great robbery scenes. We get a great chase scene, and then I guess one scene that was so tense. I don't think it's really spoiler territory. So there's a scene where Affleck's character and Blake Lively, they're out on a date, and then Jeremy Renner shows up, and the tattoo, and you're praying to God that you don't.
Yes.
You're conflicted. You're praying to God that she doesn't see the tattoo, and the other party's like saying, well, what if she does see the tattoo? You're like, oh my God, you feel conflicted. That's the thing. This movie makes you feel conflicted because these guys are robbers, but you root for them. That's what this movie is. It's like you're conflicted. And it's amazing. It's just, you go through these emotions. Like, you want these guys to get busted? Are you rooting for Jon Hamm, who's the FBI agent? Like, oh my God, it's just great. But yeah, the scene where they're outside eating, having their date outside, and then Renner shows up. Like, oh my God, like I totally forgot about that. Like, wow, it's just this movie. Even when there's no action, there's still an intensity there, and that's what I really love about this movie.
Yeah, I mean, going back to that scene, I think that all the tension and all of the nail-biting scenes take place outside of what's happening with these bank robberies, where, your typical action movie, all of the meat and potatoes is, with the guns and the fighting and with all of that. But here you have a scene where, Ben Affleck and the other actress that plays a witness, they're just having a lunch, and then out of nowhere pops Jeremy Renner. And Ben Affleck's character is the only one that has all the information, that knows everything that's going on with everybody. Jeremy Renner's character doesn't know, what the witness knows, doesn't know, what I mean? She doesn't know who he is, and Ben Affleck's just trying his best to keep cool, keep calm, while trying to figure out how do I navigate this situation? How do I get out of it? You know what I mean?
And it just makes for this hole.
Yeah, it just makes for this incredibly tense, very powerful scene, and there are a lot of scenes in there like that, I think about the scene with where Ben Affleck's going in to talk to the florist and tell him hey, I don't want to do this job. I think it's a bad idea. I'm leaving. And the florist begins to tell him about his mom and about what really happened to her. And he has to restrain himself from, to keep from trying to kill him. And how do I take this information in and stay calm the whole time? I mean, it's just scenes like that are, where all of the emotion and all the drama and everything is just written on the actor's face, and they have to kind of communicate that without actually speaking. I love scenes like that, so this movie's definitely full of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would, man, another thing too is the other conflict is that, but you just mentioned his family. Well, Jem is his basically his family now, and he wants to get out of it, and he's saying, no, you're not going nowhere. You don't think you can get away. And another thing that's really cool is Affleck's character is one that orchestrates everything too. Right. And the way it's just so cool how they plan everything. My goodness, they plan every little detail, and you're just like, oh my God, all the details are it's so detail oriented, and you're like, wow, this is great stuff. And it's just funny. We just recently watched 21 Bridges, right? And there are some elements from 21 Bridges that they borrowed from this movie. Yeah, when the scene where they shut down the bridge in Boston. Right. Right out of it, and of course the arson of the vehicles that they drove. Again, another element. So you see a lot of future movies borrowed from The Town, and it's just like, wow. Like, again, like this movie is definitely worth watching. You can find it on Netflix right now. I would even go as far as saying it's probably worth purchasing. It's a great movie, and this is the movie. We all know what happened when Ben Affleck was announced as Batman. Right. I remember the whole internet lost their damn mind, and I was just like, "Have you seen The Town?" I was like, "Have you seen The Town?" Like, calm down. The Town was a great movie. Ben will be just fine as Batman. So, again, like when people talk about Ben Affleck, like this is the movie I point to.
Yeah, I mean, this was the movie that for sure, it didn't get me on board with him as Batman. Unfortunately, like, it took me actually seeing him in that role to really be like, all right, I can get behind this. But as far as him being, thought of, in my view, as like somebody to really take serious as an actor, as a director, as a writer, it was definitely this movie and then Argo, which came, directly after this.
Yes.
Just, I can't say enough good things about it. I mean, even the casting, that, like we mentioned, Jeremy Renner, Blake Lively, but you also have like heavy hitters in there from that time, like Chris Cooper, who plays, Ben Affleck's dad, who's in jail at the time.
Yeah.
There's a great actor named Pete Postelwaite, who he recently passed away, but he played the florist. And he was perfect in that role. Absolutely, just like very like old school, like doesn't play around, like you could tell he's like running things, and he was just super believable in that role.
Again, if you're a fan of Mad Men, okay, you definitely gotta check out Jon Hamm in this movie too, because he's another character you root for, because he's the one that's trying to bust him. I mean, he knows what they're up to, but he can't get the evidence. He can't lock them down, give them a proper conviction. And it's just this cat and mouse game. It's just so much fun to watch.
Right. And I think it's worth noting that at the time, Jon Hamm was a huge star, right? Like he had just come off of Mad Men, and like his star was definitely rising. You could even argue that he was probably the biggest name on the bill. And he gave a fantastic performance, but I mean there were just so many other ones that when you look at it now, it's definitely much looked at much more as like a level ensemble, and that's you don't find that too often.
Yeah, I mean the stars like align in this movie,
right?
And so Mark, real quick before we wrap this one up, what would you really classify this movie as? Would you call it an action movie, a heist movie, a drama movie? Like, it's just there's so much to this movie. I mean, I just can't in me call it a heist movie, even though it's involving bank robberies, because there's so much more to it. I mean, do you think this movie's like in a class of its own, or what would you really classify this movie to those who, you're trying to tell someone to watch this movie? Man,
that is such a good question, because, obviously you have elements of suspense, drama, action, pretty much everything under the sun, and it's just wrapped up in this perfect bow. And I don't know that you can really like pick just one, to sort of classify this as, this is definitely, how like when you look at like a Netflix movie, like when you're trying to select one, it kind of gives you like multiple choice. It's definitely one of those.
Yeah, no, this movie's definitely a 10 out of 10. I mean, again, I just watched it for the first time, second time ever, but the first time I've watched it since it first came out, and didn't skip a beat for me. This movie, highly recommend from your boy Jay. It's readily available on Netflix. I don't know if there's a 4K version of it out yet. If there is, that might be worth the purchase. Again, highly recommended. Ben Affleck is at his best in this movie. His peak right here. And I'm glad that, since this movie, he's just been riding this wave of excellent movies. But it all started with, this wave of excellence started with The Town.
Yes, no question about it. I mean, it's the ultimate heist movie, ultimate, action drama. like I said, just all kind of neatly wrapped up together, very well executed, an absolute coup for Ben Affleck, but arguably Jeremy Renner's best performance to date. I highly recommend it. And, I know that it's high on your list too. So yeah, for anybody who is a big fan of those type of movies, it's on Netflix, definitely check it out and let us know what you think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess it was a good time to wrap this up. Like I said, we have more look backs we're going to do for the rest of the year. And if you haven't already, please check out our look back at the Almost Famous 20th anniversary. We have, like I said, more of these coming your way. We're having an absolute field day putting these out for you guys. That being said, we ask you to pretty please like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell, and spread that shit like syphilis. So the USA, from Louisville to Syracuse, to all of our friends and fans around the world at NerdCage Live, enjoy life, stay safe, and good night.
Sayonara.
Ooh, trying to get out of the NerdCage, are ya? Well, before you go, hit that subscribe button. And if you're really intrigued, ring that bell. Thank you for dropping by. Until next time, tell everyone you know about NerdCage Live!